We all know the story of Pinocchio, the wooden puppet who dreamed of becoming a real boy. But in a small Italian village, over a century ago, there was a boy who lived the story in reverse. He was born real, but was never allowed to be. In the winter of 1892, the village of Sorival sat quietly in the hills of northern Italy. Snow dusted the rooftops. Smoke curled from chimneys. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and everyone knew everything. One morning, a boy appeared in the village market. He was thin, pale, and silent, his eyes hidden beneath overgrown hair. He was with Giovanni Marchetti, the old woodworker who lived alone on the edge of town. Giovanni told the townsfolk the boy's name was Neo. He said the child had been left in his care by distant relatives. No one asked many questions, but they noticed something strange immediately. Neo didn't speak. He just stood beside Giovanni, his posture stiff, his expression frozen in a faint, unnatural smile. Giovanni had always been known for his craftsmanship. His workshop was filled with ornate furniture, carved figurines, and his specialty, marionettes. They were so lifelike, it was said you could almost see them breathe. But when Neo came into his life, Giovanni's focus shifted. He didn't treat the boy as a child. He treated him as another project. Each morning, villagers passing by would see Giovanni working on Neo. He painted the boy's face with layers of pale pigment. He sanded Neo's skin until it was smooth to the touch. He carved joints from walnut wood and strapped them to Neo's elbows and knees with leather bands. At night, light from the workshop would spill into the street as Giovanni made the boy perform for travelers passing through, dancing, smiling, bowing on command. Locals started calling him Pinocchio. At first, they thought it was a charming little act, but soon, whispers spread. Neo never laughed. Neo never cried. Neo never spoke, unless told to. There was one merchant who claimed he had heard the boy speak once. He asked Neo a question about his favorite food. Before Neo could answer, Giovanni's hand clamped down on his shoulder. "Puppets don't talk back," Giovanni whispered into his ear. The merchant never forgot the look on the boy's face. Fear mixed with something else. Resignation. Years passed. The more time Neo spent in Giovanni's care, the less human he seemed. He began to move more slowly, as if his limbs truly were made of wood. His head tilted at unnatural angles. His eyes rarely blinked. Neighbors reported hearing faint sobs from the workshop late at night, followed by the scraping sound of a paintbrush and the creak of wooden joints. One old woman swore she saw Giovanni carrying Neo's limp body inside one morning, his face streaked with fresh paint, his smile redrawn a little too wide. Then, one stormy night, Neo was gone. Giovanni claimed he'd run away. The townsfolk quietly hoped it was true, that the boy had finally escaped the workshop and the cruel hands of the puppet maker. But the hope didn't last long. At sunrise the next day, the workshop window was open. Inside, in the far corner, sat Neo. His skin was pale and waxy, his lips freshly painted in that same red smile. His limbs were tied in place with leather straps. His eyes stared forward, unblinking, and his chest did not rise. Giovanni told the townsfolk it was a tragic accident, that the boy had returned in the night, already cold and still. But those who had seen his craftsmanship whispered something far darker. Giovanni hadn't lost a child. He had finished one. When asked about Neo's death, Giovanni simply smiled and said, "My puppet came home." Then he closed the shutters of his workshop and locked the door. To this day, the old workshop stands abandoned on the edge of Sorival. The tools are still there, the wooden joints, the leather straps, and in the far corner, some say you can still see the shadow of a boy sitting perfectly still, his head tilted ever so slightly, waiting for the man who made him to return.